Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. It's good to see everybody.
Yep.
Nice to see some new faces. Thanks for coming. We're going to talk about the value network. We're still talking about this idea of value network. The idea being that evaluation, not only is it one of the most fun things to work on ourselves because it's at that top of Bloom's taxonomy that we talked about, so it makes things more interesting. It's a lot more, asking someone to compare and contrast, make an evaluation, is something good or not. These are the fun skills that are a little bit more fun to work on than maybe necessarily doing a lot of Sumego problems or trying to do a lot of the life and death. So one of the things we want to talk about is how do you train your value network if you are not named AlphaGo. AlphaGo trains their value network by having very consistent self-play. So it's able to say very confidently, it says, Dan, would you mind doing that cellophane thing like in the kitchen or something? It's just really noisy.
It's almost open.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so the idea here is if you're not AlphaGo does it by doing a lot of self-play, and that self-play has the benefit of knowing that it's the same player on either side. Whereas if you paradrop into the middle of a KGS game and you say, wow, I think white looks good here, oh, but black went on to win, you might have been right, and they just might have made a mistake, right? So you have this disadvantage in that it's a lot harder for you to necessarily try to use the same method to train your own value network. So one of the things that you have to use is you have to use people who are stronger than you, who've already done this. This book here is a really boring book. It's called A Dictionary of Modern Fuseki. Hands up if you like reading dictionaries. Nobody. Not even me. And in fact, but I do think that this book was a very useful thing for me to read at a time when I was trying to figure out what positions are good or bad in the opening. Try and develop an intuition for, is this board good for white? Is it good for black? If not, why? And so one of the things that I found in here was actually a position that is really similar to one of the AlphaGo positions that we saw. And it's in this case here, black's next move, given this Joseki over here, so we've got 2 star points against a 3-4 and another star point. We would normally expect black's next play to be somewhere up here, right? Well, they say, hey, that's the other thing. Let's talk a little bit about Fuseki knowledge. This whole book was like state of the art in like the 90s, right? So there are some positions here that are outdated, but more importantly, reading through these and hearing them say, this is good for white, this is good for black, this is good for white, this is good for black, helped me personally to calibrate what I thought was good for white and what I thought was good for black. Because if they say, this is playable for both sides, and I'm like, man, I really think black is better, I'm wrong, right? When your strong friend comes over and says, man, this looks terrible for white, you're like, wow, I think, I'm black, I think I'm winning. You're wrong. Like, take advantage of the people who have spent a lot of time calibrating that intuition perception. You can even ask specific reasons. Why do you think that's true? And they might have specific reasons, and then it's on you to build a framework out of those reasons and to understand something so that you can take that to the next position you see, right? And figure out, is it good for white, is it good for black? But anyway, so these specific examples, when they say something might be playable for white or not be playable for white, like that will shift greatly if they're like, well, now they think this is like 1 point worse, so now nobody plays it anymore, because that's the level of competitiveness that professionals have, right? They are trying for every possible point. So if there is a variation that is like, well, now we think this is like a half point worse, 2 points worse, nobody plays it anymore. It totally vanishes, right? So it can be really hard to find out what lopsided things are. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you calibrating a lopsided position is just as hard as calibrating on a balanced one, because you see less of the lopsided positions in high-level games. So something like this, where we talk about these sorts of things. So right here, black tanukis. We expect white to pincher. This maybe isn't the first move I'd think of, but here's the one that they're giving us here in the variation. I'm like, all right, well, that seems okay. 6. Okay, again, maybe not the first one I'd think of there, but that's good to know about. Now, where are you thinking for 8 here? So far, we're all on track. It just puts 8 out here in the middle. Like, okay, that seems all right. Then 9, 10, 11. They say this is balanced. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, well, what if we move this over here? What if I'm like, man, I really would rather have black get up off that line. And then so black just jumps out again, white jumps out again because you don't want to get covered. And now it says, wow, black is better. Okay, maybe that's a little hard for me to wrap my head around, but I'll get that idea. I'll say, okay, black's better. So maybe white says, you know, gosh, I really didn't like coming in here. So we back this up, and we have white approach here. How are you going to play if you see this? What's natural? Pincher. Pincher is pretty natural. It's a little bit with maybe pincher here, but in this case, they show this variation. And they say, right now, if black blocks this way, do we like it or not? If we see this, are you going to like this? Whoa. This is Joseki. I played it a million billion times. Do we like it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Someone's shaking their head no. Why not?
Because you're not using the side.
Yeah. You're not using the start point. In fact, once you've got this pincher right here, right? With this already here and this pincher, you should think, hey, maybe this is one of those rare occasions. This is that 10% of the time when I want to block on this side.
Oh, you mentioned did we like it for black?
Do we like, well, yeah, sure. Do we,
Sorry.
because you're choosing, you're black, choosing which side you're going to block on. Right? After white's gone into the corner, it's your choice. You have to figure out, you know, who's going to make which choice, right? So, do we like this for black? Do we like this better than the other one?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, this looks better than the other one,
Vote
right?
for black, yes.
So the people who were looking at the other variation, if you just blocked and just played that other Joseki variation by instinct, you might think, yeah, that looked fine, right? But this is a better choice, right? This is black's position is really working out really nicely, right?
Yeah, but did white have to, was white forced into that?
Was white forced into that? No, white doesn't have to approach on this side. So this is explaining why white maybe plays here instead of approaching. Right? So one of the other things white can do is white can consider making this exchange first. So white makes this exchange, then plays here. Now those other Joseki we looked at, you know, previously we had black play here, but obviously it's a little different now, right? So what do we think about this? What do we think about this? So, right here is where black tanukis. So let's get the order right. First white peeps, and then plays here. Now if black tanukis, this sequence is going to look better for white. Black's shape is pretty heavy. Right? And you guys are sort of nodding, you're like, yeah, of course, all right, sure. This is that sort of like having somebody be like, yeah, you know, white shape, black shape is heavy. Would you guys think that when you review your own game and look at your own position? Because that's sort of that idea of like doing this calibration. So the idea is in this case, instead, black is going to approach over here, or black is going to make that extension once his shape has been made heavy. Now that maybe is the right idea. 3, what do we do now? We do 3. What's the right play here for black? He's not just going to do this, he's going to do this one. Right? The idea being that this would already be a pinchered idea, and against that strength, it's probably a good idea for white to do this. And it presents this variation. It says, what do you think? Does it say this is even? Does it say this is good for black? Does it say this is good for white?
No, this brings up a point I've got a problem with. I always get good results with an iron post.
Sure.
I don't like playing against an iron post.
Oh, you mean this?
Seems to be great, and I can't understand why.
Well, all right. So you think this is good for black?
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else think it's good for black?
Except white's being on the left.
It's an even result. So it's an even result. So we've got a bunch of these other board positions around here. I want to do one other one, which is that if this is an even result for black, maybe black
also has a way of destabilizing white as well as making the corner really solid.
after white already has the jump. After white already has the jump, it's going to be hard for black to destabilize this group. That's the purpose of white reinforcing with this jump. All right, so let's look at another variation here, which is where black decides that he is going to resist against the peep. He's going to resist against the peep by pushing up. White Hane. Who knows this Joseki? Who knows this Joseki? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What do we think? 9, 10, 11, 12, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Where's white's shape move here? Which side of the board is white's shape move? Is it the cutting stones? No, you have to protect up here.
Yes, I was gonna
Because
say,
these-
white tries to strengthen those two stones.
Right.
That's-
12. What's the next Joseki move? It's going to be another really quiet one. Just the descent. This is Joseki. How many of you have seen this Joseki?
No.
0, right? But it's Joseki. And then here's 14. So this is a basic Joseki. But what happens next?
Yeah.
What happens next? This sure looks like it's cooperating nicely with these stones, but it's white's turn. So if you're white, where do you play? Do you play this side? Do you play this side?
I'd go,
Who likes option 1?
I'd go down, no, the other side.
Who likes option 2?
I like that one.
Yeah.
What do you expect black to play after option 2?
Well, if he plays up on the top, someplace is gonna be a narrow extension for that wall.
Going to be a narrow extension, so how do you answer this?
Double approach.
Double approach. Sure, that seems reasonable. Let's start with the wrong answer. This is the wrong answer. Why is this the wrong answer? After 1, 2, now it doesn't really matter what white does here because black is going to emphasize the outside. Right? White tries basically any of these things out here. Maybe that one. This is going to turn into a moyo that basically gives black, quote, a 1 game. End of quote.
Bigger than white's big corner.
Right. So how can we understand that for ourselves? Sorry, we start here, then we attach here. This is the right order. Remember when we talked about 2-space extensions? And I said that when you play the shoulder hit, there's a black stone. When you play the shoulder hit, this is the move to attack a 2-space extension when you've got stuff here, and that this is a move to make a moyo. Remember that?
Right.
Everybody, anybody? Some folks. Some of you folks weren't here for that.
I wasn't here.
That's okay. You're allowed. Anyway, so in this position right here, black plays the shoulder hit and the attachment because that's focused on the moyo, right? And after this, quote, black has a 1 game. So how many points is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 25, call it 30 points, maybe, give or take. I mean, there's the hane here. This cutting point is important as far as making white have to do this. If white could keep pushing and break out, then this definitely wouldn't be a good result for black. Right?
The thing is, of course, it would take more analysis on my part to figure out why white has to do it than I'm really capable of.
Aha! See, there's the opportunity for true greatness. Stands before you. All right. Anyway, so 30 points, and then what is this? What is this moyo? 100 points. I like your optimism. All right. So this moyo is sufficient.
45.
And if we try something else, so say we try the slide, and then we try what? This one? And I'm thinking, okay, well, this is how we avoid that, right? This is how it says, well, this result is also good for black. I didn't know that. Did you know that? I might think this would be sufficient for white. I mean, look at all that cash. That's 30 points. Now it's not a 100-point moyo anymore, right?
No, but you got a big corner down.
But it's still almost 30 points here, so it's almost balanced. So we can now try and come up with some reasons. Why did they say this is good for black? Right? If your strong player tells you this is good for black, you should say why. Right? So if this is 30 points here, and you've got this thickness, this is supposed to be on the start point. Doesn't really matter in this particular board. Other times this might be very important, but in this case, like if it's here, it'd be even better for black. Because, something here would really complement that whole thickness idea. In this case, though, it's still good for black no matter what that position in the lower left is. And that's because we have a balancing territory here. There's some aji here, but you don't really have to worry about it because white moving one of these this cutting stone out just gives you a giant heavy group. Right? What are you going to do with this? This is like, delicious. Like, and then capture, and then squeeze, and then what's white going to do here? Delectable. So we can see already, we've got our balanced 30 points. We've got potential here, and we've got more thickness in the center, so this is good for black. Seems legit. So this is a great way for us to calibrate our thinking. So we might say, hey, none of these really look good. Maybe I should try moving it over here. Here. Right? So we move it over here, and we do this, and we might say, so whoever said double approach, brownie points, because definitely if you do this, now we're definitely going to block this way, right? We don't have something on the star point, so we don't want to do this anymore, because now our thickness would be pointing the wrong way. Everybody see that, or do you want me to show it? I want to show it. At this point, it's white's turn, right? So now this thing that you got isn't going to be as very good. So, when white dives into the corner, we're going to block this way, and we're going to say, this is really lame, because this is basically like game over again for white, right? We can make a count on how much actual cash this is, see that it balances this, and see that black is going to have, not only does it balance this, it balances this and this, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is 28, another bunch, plus you're out here, right? So what's not to like?
That's at least 40 points.
You're even aiming at like shutting white in here or here, which are both pretty tasty. So, okay. So all that says what white should consider doing, even before we look at the double approach, because I don't know, honestly, I don't know. I think it's better than just getting shut in, but I still feel like you might inadvertently end up giving black a really good result here. What you want to do is you're going to want to attach out here. See what that probe is. Black answers something straightforwardly. Now you can jump out. This might be one of those times where against the pincher you want to do this jump out. Right? 4, 5. Because now we've made this exchange. Now we can slide. Oop, no.
No?
Push. Gonna really want to try and find this out. Now we're gonna slide. Anyway, it gives a hypothetical sequence of what's gonna happen here.
So
It
this
says-
really sucks for black.
This is an even result.
Next.
So this isn't finished, so maybe I should finish that before I tell you why it says it's an even result. So black's gonna push here, 9, 10. So black stone with a magnet. My kingdom for a black stone with a magnet. You are useless to me. 12, 13, and right here. 14, 15.
That sucks less.
This sucks less. Sorry, would you call it even? I mean, we might have opinions about which side we like even. So that's the other thing.
Almost like, it's pretty even, yeah, but black might be slightly better.
So, and that's the other thing, is for even results, we might have opinions. Like, it might be even, and I might like black better, but that might be a personal thing. I would rather play black in this board. I know someone else would rather be like, dude, 30 points cash, I want that side. No question.
Nah, cash.
And that's not you, right? That's
No.
you'd rather have the. All right, so we have these personal differences of opinion, even when we might acknowledge that the board is even, right? And disentangling this, which side we'd rather play from what we objectively think the board is. Why do we think this is even? How much is this? This is actually legit. This is another 15 points here, right? Now this cut kind of becomes a thing eventually, so maybe I'm going to want to come approach down here. But this isn't a bad formation as far as the efficiency here is concerned. This isn't bad. I am going to want to get something under here, right? Like if I'm black, I want to figure out how I can close this door, and I'm not really sure how I can do that with a move. It's a good question. It's White's turn, though. If I'm White, I don't really want to make another group because this is not alive, right? This black group is settled, right?
Have you noticed that there's a heck of a lot of co-threats up there in the upper left corner?
Sure. That might be another reason that you have for liking, not liking something. Anyway, we've set up a bunch of different board positions. I've indicated whose turn it is to play in the different corners. I'd like you to tell me if the position is good for white, good for black, or even. And I'd like you to tell me why. Sound good? Oh, anybody want to do a quick summary of the article that we read? Anybody want to take a stab at summarizing that for me?
Oh, no, I'd like you to do it.
You want me to do it? No, somebody else. I want to hear one of you guys tell me. Jeff, what did it say?
last week, so I'm gonna.
You read it last week. Damn it, Michael.
I don't know.
Heath. This is impossible. George.
Basic idea was that AlphaGo had they had created a kind of an intuition, a way to assess the board position,
Right.
and they had done this by training the policy network in two ways,
Right.
and then letting the policy network suggest
Right.
moves for the value side of the network to run with.
Right. What was different about this compared to how Deep Blue did it? Deep Blue was exhaustive, and it was also an explicit.
Deep Blue gave point values to each of the pieces on the chessboard and was able to take a little bit further by saying if a pawn is blocking.
Right.
the
Point
rook,
values
it's
for
worth
each
less.
piece on the chessboard, plus some heuristics like
Right.
if there's a way for that pawn to get off of a file, then the rook behind it is not as blocked.
Gets
basically.
a little bit more. Value.
Right. So, but these were still all hard coded, and the values for each of these formations was kind of just programmed in with the help
Maintain
of
the higher score throughout the game.
Right, exactly. So at this point, now you've got your evaluation function, which is just add up the points, see what these positions are, and now min-max to try and find your way through there. This obviously did not work with Go. So what this should tell us is that the way that we are going to learn. So I guess the big idea here is that we are still going to try and think about it the way the chess grandmasters who were teaching that computer how to think about it. He says, hey, that pawn can get off of that file, so that rook is more valuable than you might think because it is not as blocked in your evaluation. That's a heuristic that person knows, right? That's a solid, concrete idea that they could use when they look at that pawn and that rook, and they say this pawn-rook relationship means that this rook is actually more valuable than a rook that doesn't have that pawn set up. Does that make sense? Can we do that for Go? Yes. Is it hard for us to come up with exhaustive formulations that hold in all cases for Go?
No.
That's right. It is absolutely not. Like we can show you a counterexample for any concrete, hard and fast rule, and even for some of these positions where they say white's good, black's good. They may be out of date. Like this is a dictionary of modern fuseki, but how many of them actually show up? There's maybe a handful of patterns that are still actively being experimented on, and this book's only like 20 years old. So,
Well,
all right.
like we saw in that second game, though, our opinion of what is correct is also subject to.
Sure. Also true. And this is actually one of the things. I don't know what the plans are as far as AlphaGo's, release or any sort of way in which that might be made available. But certainly, from whoever it was took the pictures of the slides and posted them of AlphaGo's win estimation across all of its games. AlphaGo basically thought it was winning in every single game, almost from the very beginning. So what this says, but it also thought it was winning even after it had made very bad mistakes that it did not realize were mistakes yet. So AlphaGo's evaluation function is really interesting. It would be really interesting to see some of the self-play games where AlphaGo thinks that it's really 50-50 and show those to current professionals and say, do you think these games are balanced? Like, if I was made Lord Emperor of the world for a day, that is absolutely what I would do. I would be like, yo, let's get Li Shangho, Li Sedol, Cote, let's get all these kids in a room, show them a bunch of these AlphaGo self-play positions and tell us, do you really think these are balanced? Like, get that sort of calibration. That would be fascinating.
Yeah, Andrew, there's this problem in comparing. AlphaGo's thinking was such that if it wins by 1 point, that's fine. Doesn't care if there was a move that could have
Right,
won
that's
by
why
20.
that's why this fuseki analysis is what's important, because at this point we're trying to find the first mistake, right? We're trying to zero in on the first mistake, not the last mistake. When we're reviewing our games, we usually start at the end and we find the last mistake, because the last mistake is the one that lost the game.
Yeah.
Anything that didn't lose the game wasn't a mistake yet, right? Does that kind of make sense? So the first mistake is where things fall apart, and after that, you know, there might be locally suboptimal moves that still result in a winning position, right? Does this kind of make sense where we're going? Anyway, look at the board positions, tell me which sides you think is ahead or behind and why, and we'll talk about it. All right, first one, black to play. Second one, black to play. Paper zoom.
These are all.
Third one, white to play.
Just boxed in.
So on this one, you think
I think black's ahead of us.
black looks better on that one?
Yeah.
On the other one, you think, huh?
Feels closer.
Hmm. Well, I can only tell you the professional opinions of this lesson. No opinions of my own. This one's black to play. This one is white's turn. What does that mean? Those two stones in the corner just indicate that it is white's turn. Those two stones are not actually in the corner. Also white's turn. Again, the important point here is who has sente. The significance of whose turn it is so that you can evaluate the result in the context of who has sente.
I don't feel anything. I
You-
feel it's a
Yeah,
major
I
difference
think-
Okay with
between
black?
them, but I think
I'm
black's
okay with black, yeah. It's
Huh.
it's his turn, his start point seems more useful.
Huh.
That's the thing.
Okay.
If the listeners is white.
He doesn't have to respond.
Fairly even.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're choosing between this one and the last one, which one would you take?
Oh, for which one's closer?
Yeah.
This one I feel is closer.
This one's closer?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so everybody's had a chance to look at them. Everybody sort of has some sort of a thought. How confident are you guys about your answers? Are there any that you're very confident on?
None that are really confident, no.
All right, so how about this one? Let's start with this one right here.
Okay.
It's black's turn. We can pretty much guess what happened here. We had facing 3-4 points. We do
Yeah.
this on either side. Black gets to play here. White gets sente to come play here.
Yeah,
What do we think?
Black is not going to play here.
Black is not going to play there, sure. But it is black's turn.
It is black's turn.
This is
You got a symmetrical position, you only take one
balanced.
of them.
This is a balanced position. This is, according to the pro players, they say this is a basic pattern. You should see it. There's a bunch of pro games where people have experimented from here. But the idea is that from here, both sides seem to be all right. So if you think better for black, better for white, maybe, maybe not. But the consensus is balanced. And it's still under active development. So that may be out of date now that I'm saying this, but that's what it says under the book. In the book, it was written 20 years ago. So if there is a consensus on if this is better or worse for black, it hasn't happened yet. It's with whatever they consider the inevitable follow-ups are. Sound good? All right, let's move on to this one right here. So this one, who knows this Joseki, by the way? Who could recognize this Joseki? Okay, so let's show the sequence. All right, so black makes the far approach here, the slide, the pincher, the push. This is a different Joseki. In this case, though, white plays here. Black connects. White plays here. Black jumps. Here. Connect. Where does white play?
Here.
Yeah, that's right. Here. And then, all right, so what do we think? Better for black, better for white? Does seeing what happened there change your assessment? Probably shouldn't. It's the same board position, right? Just knowing what preceded it shouldn't really
I like
change
white.
your evaluation.
You like white?
You like white?
If you called it a
black
Joseki,
somehow, I
maybe
don't
it's
know.
even.
Well, it's a Joseki locally, but
Right.
globally, maybe it isn't.
Globally black, a couple of black stones out there,
Like-
white doesn't.
Maybe you'd rather have it
Yeah.
this way if you're going to call it a Joseki. In this case, this board is indeed
White.
better for white. Slightly favors white.
Oh, you think it favors white?
That's what they say.
Maybe they made use of the star.
Made good use of the star point. This is a good formation for white to have up here.
Okay.
This is locally, this is fine, but this works really well, and this is stable enough. Even if black plays under here, it's not like it's really affected.
Yeah, it's stable, but it's got an awful lot of stones. aren't really doing too much.
You mean black?
No, white, well,
Well,
black and white
yeah.
is reaching out, and, black has got some,
All right.
let's say he's got a broad structure facing out. It's not a real
He
strong
does.
one.
He does, but so does white. White hasn't been shut in on either side, right? In these kinds of Joseki where black has been pinchered, right? His job is to keep you. If white is developing on both sides, you don't want that development to be too big on either side, right? And in this case, your ideal situation is actually a split fuseki, in which case, white, why are you playing this, right? But in that case, you'd rather have it be this way, right? Because again, that efficiency is probably not as good. That makes sense? I mean, that's just my read of the situation. I may be totally wrong in what I've told you, but when they say, hey, the professional consensus here is that this is better for white, it's on us to figure out why. All right, next one. Over here. Actually, let's start with this one. Because these three positions all come from the same idea, same thing here. You know what, actually, let's start over here.
Okay, just over here, huh?
All right, so these three all start from the same way. I showed some of you guys this one. Who wants to take a stab at showing me what happened? Starting from here. Who wants to take a stab at showing me this? Who did I show this to? Anyone want to step forward? I showed it to three of you. Yeah. You got it? No? Michael?
All right,
Yeah?
maybe.
All right, here. I'll start you from the low approach.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Now what?
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, okay. What is it?
Was it here?
Yeah, the kick.
Kick.
And then white stands. Keep going. Black. It's going to extend. Right. We can't have white attaching on that side. Then we play here.
Yeah.
Black invades immediately. White attaches on top. Black connects off to the left. You can establish here that there's nothing white can do to stop black from connecting off to the left. So, who thinks this is better for white? I heard a bunch of you say this was better for white.
I think it's
Your
better for white.
conviction. 1, 2, 3. Yes.
I think.
This is better for black. This is definitely better for black. Even though it's white's turn. White's turn is here, but these stones haven't really done anything.
Yeah, they haven't done anything.
Black's succeeded. There's no more Aji around here, really. I mean, less, I should say. So he's developed on both sides, and white's thickness doesn't really have eye shape. Needs another move. You pointed out what you thought white's move would be, which was, you said, hey, I'll play out here.
Yeah.
Which is probably good locally, but I think that it invites this. And now black is even up off the third line of the fourth line. I would be pretty happy with this as black.
That's true.
And I don't know if white has a better option out here. I don't know what it is. But this is related to these other two problems.
They attach at the shoulder. That's,
Yeah, you could. This is the AlphaGo way. That's right.
right.
That's right. I guess the AlphaGo way would be like this or something. I don't know. Anyway.
I'm just looking at
White has to find a move here, for sure. The shoulder hit, if we get a cut immediately, since black is kind of solid here, this is what I would read
I'd
first
go one up
if I'm
before
black.
cutting, before going down. With that, I didn't have time to read it, but
You're
it looked
still-
like that might connect there.
It's possible. I'd take this for black any day of the week, for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's that. But
All right, let's go check out the other ones.
okay.
I don't know, that shoulder hit might be good, but that's the variation I would read
This one?
first. For maximum resistance. Okay, so this one over here. Now we've got the same idea, only instead of just extending to here and having this, white goes banging into the stone like this, right? Black emphasizes territory, so white pushes up. Let's see, where was this? Right here? Black turns, white jumps. So,
This one seems better for white than the last one.
This is better for black.
better for white than the last one. So this is good because you're comparing the last one to this one.
Right.
So if we know the last one is bad for white, what do we think about this one?
Even?
Even. Yeah.
That's even?
Yeah, that's what they say at least. It's black's turn for Sente. So, first of all, black went down here, which is usually a little submissive, but he was able to get Sente, and he's able to settle this with no further
The
moves.
thing is, This would be beautiful for white if he had to play here, but
It's
he
white-
can't
it's
really
black
afford
turn.
to do that.
It's black
Black's
turn.
turn, yes, he can't do that.
I don't know if that means I'm going to play somewhere out here immediately because this is kind of in dame zone. But I might do something that reduces the value of a white turn here, right? I might just play over here. I might approach over here. You
Yeah,
know,
that's what I'm thinking. It's just
something like this.
Kind of, you know,
Now, if you make that turn, it doesn't really matter.
because white doesn't have a base here, right? I mean, the monkey jump is coming unless white makes it.
The monkey jump is a long.
Long
see,
ways
it's,
off,
it's
but
a long
then
ways off
it's-
because white is already out,
Yeah.
right? So that's just endgame considerations.
That's,
All right. This one's balanced. What do we think about the next one? I heard a bunch of people say they thought black was better here. So this is the same idea, only in this case, instead of thrusting down, black goes up. White goes up. Hane, Hane, block here, connect, Hane, Hane, extend.
That's black's move.
It is blacksmith.
Black.
Yeah,
You like black?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many of you guys are surprised to hear that the consensus was that this is better for white? Surprise! Okay, so now our question is, why is this better for white?
Yeah.
And so they say this territory is good, that this is a good amount of territory to make. If you make 15 points here on the side, for some reason, that is more valuable than this kind of nonsense thickness that black
But
has.
that nonsense thickness is true, but
Is it because the thickness is just pointing into the white
black's
Pointing at a low group, maybe? Yeah, it's got some cutting
it's
points
got
left over,
this thing-
sure.
Well, the rest
Should
of
be
the
able to
board
do
is
something
kind of
here.
symmetrical, really. I mean, it's like equal for either anybody.
Right,
white or
you could
black,
say this and this
except that.
balance, so that maybe this is just
That
better
shape's
than this.
just better than that. Yeah.
Right, and also that this thickness isn't really, I don't know, it's not,
Yeah, it's not.
Seems.
it's not looking at anything,
Okay,
right?
yeah, I'll see that.
So this is a great opportunity. If you said, wow, this is obviously better for black, you might take a second, scratch your heads and say,
What
okay,
if
well,
black plays here?
Or here.
what
over
if,
there?
what if? I don't know, I'm telling you, they think white's better.
It's black's turn now. Black
It's
has the
black's
initiative.
Still losing.
But black isn't going to make that many points in one move.
Presumably, no?
If he's got the capability of walling that off, leaving a.
Look, I'm presenting this to you guys, I see this diagram in the book, they say white's better, I go, huh, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, you can disagree with the pros who wrote the book. I don't personally want to. I want to use the opportunity to learn from them. And at the same time, I'm not them, so I can't tell
Right,
you,
yeah, okay.
well, what if black does this? What if black does this? What if black does that? That's up to us to figure out why, you know, this move that maybe looks good for us, what's a
That
thing
might be a
that
little
leads to a
early,
good
though, is the
position.
thing, but.
Might be a little early. Right, that's a great idea. Maybe if we just do this, maybe it's not even sente. Maybe black just
Yeah.
tanuki.
No, I wouldn't do that as a move right now, but it's certainly coming.
Well, then timing is everything, man. All right, let's look at the other ones. All right, let's start with this one over here. All right, so these two might be easier than the other ones. In both of this one and the next one, it is white to play. In both this one and the last one, these are. So the first one, the last three we looked at the low approach. This one's a high approach, right? So these are all kind of related, right? These. It's not like it's any accident how we came up with these. What is this here? Man, I can't Joseki.
This Joseki's weird.
This Joseki is weird. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. Black pushes again before he has to go back and pretend. So, locally that's Joseki. But in this case, this is
Black.
good for black. Now, anybody think this was good for white?
No.
No, we're all unanimous. This is great. We all got this one right. Let's all take a moment.
Well,
Congratulate
the
ourselves.
weakness I see here is this stone was here, which it ain't.
If white had turned,
But it's not, well, it's white's turn, but he can't really play that. Now, if it was already played, this would be good. But this,
even if white plays here, I would say this is still good for black.
yeah, I know. That's because black's going to answer. He's going to come out here and make things even worse.
It's because all of these stones are kind of not doing anything
Yeah.
because of this is a low position. If the board looks like this and black approaches now, are you going to play this as white?
No. Depends.
Right? We can come up with some pretty good reasons why we don't like this for white. Like we'd probably pinch it here, right? We'd maybe get some actual points here in exchange for this. But this low stable position, which we've all learned is low and stable, right? we know that it's going to be really hard for white to use that thickness effectively. So similar on the next one. How many folks thought this was good for white? This one over here? Because this is another variation of the high approach where black plays the outside attachment.
Another good for black.
Another good for black.
Yep,
Yep.
same reason.
So in this case,
Maybe not as much as this one, but
this is high approach, outside attach. This isn't even here yet. We counter with this one here. And then this is the Joseki.
So this is even better with this. The stone out here. Where's that one?
Well, it's black finishes the Joseki with this extension.
Yeah.
And white can't really not do that. Like if you're gonna, you can't really forestall
Right, yeah.
this because this after this, it's already here. You're gonna be
Yep.
like, what did these two stones even do? They did nothing. So, if this, normally this is a Joseki locally here where black makes this extension. If white has something over here, white made good territory with this Joseki, right?
If white's already
that's about
undercut.
all.
But white's already undercut, right? Like it's already open at the bottom. It doesn't have a good extension. There's no development. You want your fourth line stones to develop into a moyo. There's none of that happening here. So part of these explain the other three diagrams we just looked at.
I'm wondering about this one. I remember one of the things brought up is that when you're playing the professional, you have to do two-purpose moves. This is actually a single-purpose.
Sure,
structure.
if that's a good way for you to come up with a reason why you would not play this white move originally as, or why you would
I don't know,
play
I
this
might
move
play
as
that
black.
white move initially, but the way it ended up, I don't know, are there other ways of playing it?
So we can look at this whole thing and say, hey, in this case, because how many of us have started from this fuseki right here?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure all of us have maybe seen this. How many of us would play this one?
Not very.
Most of us maybe do something like this, or we maybe play a pincher, right?
Yeah?
Nah, I
Right?
sometimes play them.
But here's a couple of examples where it's really hard for white to find a good result
Yeah.
after this one. So now maybe we should know that, hey, we should do this. So now
Yeah.
maybe white is going to start doing this.
He does that now, he's limited to strict, he's gonna get his little two-point territory.
2 points is 16
Say
points.
out.
But I see which one you liked. All right.
Extension, yeah, but
So anyway, so the idea here is that we have this sort of calibration idea. We can think about how we're going to go about doing these things in the future. Did that make sense? Was that even an English sentence I just said? I'm not really sure. Let's move right along. Last two. So how many people are getting about half of them? I know everybody got these two.
I think 33%.
33%? Well, that's about guessing at random. So you could look at it like your initial, what do you call it?
Can't get worse.
Your initial condition for your neural network where you just feed it input, like,
Initial values.
yeah, your initial values. I mean, why not? You just pick something. All right, so what do we think here? I heard a lot of people say they like black. Who are those people? This is black's turn.
You know what?
This is really straightforward,
I like
by the way.
black, but I keep losing. I lost this position 1,000
So this is black,
Almost this position.
2 stars, black approaches, white pinchers. We play this out, and then white. White has sente at the end of this Joseki that everybody's seen.
But the stone here, I've lost this 1,000 times.
There we go. With stones everywhere, I'm sure we've won.
But
So hands up who liked black. Quick show of hands.
or white, or black.
I'd rather play black, but from a betting standpoint, I don't know. I lost it too many times.
So they don't say that this is. They don't say explicitly this is good for white, but they do say that this now becomes a really good move for white.
Right.
I would say that this probably is an effective thing for white to do. For those of you who are like, yeah, let's pincher, or that's a game. I mean, you'll find games in the pro database that started this way, I'm sure. But it still seems like maybe the consensus is that this is an effective thing for white to do. So as a result, we have this board over here. Heath, thank you. This board over here, which goes like this. Starts like this. After white pinchers, instead of jumping into the corner and getting the board we just looked at, black just plays over here. White's play There are some reasons why white doesn't play here, which you are cordially invited to explore and find. White's play here is another way of handling black's tanuki locally, and black plays here. And this is interesting. I know that this one is still considered fairly even, although they say this is maybe slightly better for black. I would take this to mean that at the amateur level, we can totally play this, and it's fine. Compared to some of the other ones where we can say clearly, that's an opportunity for us to train a value network, this one seems to still be getting enough attention, although they do say maybe this is better for black. So take that with a grain of salt.
I think it's better for black.
They think it's better for black. They think
this structure doesn't, I don't like that white structure.
They thought it was better for black in the 90s when they wrote that book.
Okay.
You might see this one more frequently now. So that's the other thing you can think of, is if you look at the current title matches, you look at the openings they play there, those are probably assumed to be locally balanced or under development, right? Because they're not going to play something which is like 2 points worse, man. There's $100,000 on the line. Nobody's going to screw around with that. So if you're looking at professional games, you can be reasonably confident that the fuseki starts off with a balanced pattern. So something like this, you would say, probably still balanced, right? And again, the pros themselves will have differing opinions. There might be some pro who's like, I hate this position, I'll never play it. The same way you or I might be like, look at a balanced position and say, I totally would rather take the cash. I'd rather take the...
Well, Andrew, I'm just what I'm looking at. I'm thinking, I looked at someone, if I was white, what would I do up against that black stone? And just looks like trying to do something about that black stone. I don't want to put another stone on it, really.
So this is the other thing everybody know about ps.waltheri.net, the Fuseki database, where you can look up pro games. You should find out what the most common continuations from here are. Do you know this tool here? We'll end the lesson right here, folks. Let's play some games. Let's do that, and I'll show you this database tool that you can look to see to answer your question.
Online.
What do I do next? Yeah. Sound good? Okay. All right, so let's play some games. Remind us your name.
Wataru?
Wataru. Nice to meet you.
What are you? And then combine. Wataru.
That's great. You should probably play Bert.
All right.
Everybody else match themselves up as you see fit. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Nice to meet you.
Everybody get anything interesting out of this?
Yeah.
All right, and if anybody wants to browse through the book, I don't know if there's a copy here in the library.
You're taking pictures of all this. Is there some place we're going to be able to download this?
On YouTube.
YouTube?
And usually, I assume you're posting these on YouTube again?
Or just go there and search on Andrew Jackson teaches class full
He
of
has his own channel, yeah. It's like Andrew Jackson.
Yes, if you Google for Andrew Jackson Go, you'll find it. Just push the red.
Oh, this one.